Going live. You're live.
We are live.
Just on one.
We're live on mine, and now I'm coughing. How is everybody doing out there? We are getting ready for the show to start here any second. So I wanted to be first up. Yay.
What happened?
I don't know. Poor little Ken's having issues with all his live Facebook and YouTube and all these kind of different feeds.
Well,
poor baby.
It says it's working.
Pobrecito. You are. We're live, honey. You're fine. Go here.
Okay.
Click here. There you go. Click there.
Oh, I'm not live
Yay!
then. Oh, that's why they were different.
All right, here we go.
Hey, Malcolm. Hey, Kathy.
Hello. All right, here we are. So this is Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder with me. AJ is the co-host. This is Ken.
Allie.
This is AJ. Woo, 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 woo. Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder. We never really know what's going to happen, especially when Ken's involved. Well, or me. Okay, so we have a lot of great articles and things going on today. So Ken, in case you don't know and have never joined in, he is a former Buddhist monk. I don't even know how do you even put those two together, but somehow or another Ken manages to
I think being the firearms instructor and being the monk.
And the monk, yes. And him being the monk and yelling at somebody in the parking lot in his monk robes is my favorite. Okay, yeah. I'm sure that guy will never forget having Ken, the Buddhist monk, yelling at him, going home and saying, "You're not going to believe this. This Buddhist monk bitched at me."
It was a woman.
Oh, I thought it was a guy.
No,
one time was a guy.
That guy, I didn't say much to him. I just told him to back off.
Then other monks told you to be nice.
Yeah, I know, but that was I was being nice. They don't know nice when they see it.
So anyway, an attorney in how many states?
3
the states. I don't know how he did it, but he did. And yes, so he owned all kinds of things, nightclubs in the past and gun ranges. That really Ken with a gun, but he knows his guns. Very impressed. Yeah. And I have Dallas Yoga Magazine and I flip homes. Woo-woo! Yay. All right. So we are ready for our show today. What do we got, Ken?
Okay. So I don't know if Allie's still with us. But Allie, I'm wearing the Le Tour Dysfonctionnel t-shirt.
Explain what it is.
So what did you say, what year?
1997.
In 1997, after my dad had passed away, my mother took the whole family, grandchildren, children, nephews, my nephew's nieces, not hers, to Europe. And we went.
How nice was that?
We went to
Mom.
France. Oh, yeah. No, so we went to France,
Mom.
and 14 of us were on a barge together. And Allie's dad, my brother-in-law, made this T-shirt for everybody.
That is so awesome.
I think it's
the Goldberg family does the what's the name of the river?
Yonne.
Yeah,
Yonne River.
I've
been taking all these T-shirts that I've actually no use for in real life. I mean, what? This isn't something.
It's a great T-shirt.
You're not going to wear it.
Why
anymore.
not? I like it. Okay.
It's like the Camaro T-shirt I wore last week, the Locomotion T-shirt I wore the week before. That kind of wraps up the whole, look what's been in my drawer for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Okay?
I'm getting stuff off of it after being in the drawer all that long.
It has been in a drawer a long time.
Wait, I got my own shirt on. My inner goddess. Look at that was from Lisa Ware. Yoga for Love. Ooh, look at that, Lisa. I'm wearing your T-shirt. Yeah, okay.
And Patty said hi.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Patty.
So Malcolm said hi. Hillary went to school with me.
Oh, Lisa Homecamp. Woo!
In South Shore High School.
Oh, I went to Lisa Homecamp was my best friend.
We're never going to get a show done if we're just going
I just love Lisa. She's one of my favorite people in this whole world. I love her.
We don't really have a show.
I'm just going to say hi to everybody.
We just want to see who loves us enough.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the good story we're starting with first?
All right, so, speaking of guns, by the way, I'm going to start on a tragic note.
Yes.
A 3-year-old was shot in Milwaukee.
Oh, I saw that. Was it drive-by?
Road rage. No, road rage.
Oh,
okay. And there's this woman in Richardson, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Richardson Democrat group, and she posts there a lot. I know her from that group. Anyway, she posts a lot of gun stuff because she's really anti-gun. And of course, I'm not as vehemently anti-gun, but I am, as I've expressed openly, I am in favor of certain regulations
Absolutely.
and restrictions,
Okay.
at least to start. If
Okay.
it doesn't do anything, it doesn't work, then we can reevaluate it. But or evaluate. Do we agree? So I, of course, have been stridently in favor of universal background checks.
Yes.
And it's a simple thing to implement, and we can do it right away. And we don't know if it will help, but the other side going repeatedly all the freaking time. I know these guys. I spent a lot of time with them. They're like, well, how would it have stopped anything? Well, we don't know because we didn't have the restrictions. So what do I know about it? I know a lot about it. And I know that universal background checks is the absolute basic minimum that we could start with. It costs nothing. So I don't know who shot this child, but so, and then in Florida, paramedics apparently are encountering such hostility
Wow.
and danger that, or not, because Florida is a little hinky anyways. But the Florida
I can't
legislature-
imagine somebody showing up, a paramedic showing up, and somebody pulling a gun on.
Oh,
him
I
saying,
can.
"No."
I can. In Chicago,
oh my
there was a
God.
policy at one time
It's so sad.
in certain areas of the city. If a fire call went in or paramedic call, a police car had to accompany it.
Okay.
So absolutely, I know that there
Well, we
are
don't have the police in Dallas to do
situations.
that. We don't have enough.
Well, I don't know if Chicago had enough, but that was the policy. So, anyways, they just signed a new law. It says two things. It will allow paramedics to carry firearms when they're responding to shootings, drug raids, and other high-risk situations. And it says that paramedics don't have to retreat and are justified in using force to defend themselves. I really don't care. It says they have to be trained. They have to go through
Well, I
an
think that's
annual
important.
training.
If they're going to do it, they got to be trained.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I'm just saying that as a rule, I don't have an issue with fire people being able to defend themselves, but it's the whole trend. We seem
Right.
to put the effort into liberalizing gun laws when, at the very least, simultaneously, we should be looking at putting in some restrictions.
Right.
You know, there's just no shortage of liberalization. There's a dearth of any kind of.
I just feel so sorry for these people that they have to firemen, paramedics. You got to friggin' teachers now. They're even telling teachers. Some of the schools have allowed teachers.
Florida has
Oh
a
my
bill that
God.
arms teachers.
I mean, did you ever think when you were young that you were going to have to like worry about like getting shot as a teacher?
I haven't done a lot of research, but after the shooting of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High, the governor put together a high school public safety commission, and they recommended that teachers be armed.
Yeah.
So the
I'm
legislature passed a law,
There's
said
no
teachers should
way.
be armed.
I'm sorry, but 15 years teaching inner city high school, I saw teachers do things that dealing with kids that people out there have never dealt with children like this, seen the things we've seen, and to put a gun in your hand under those circumstances,
so many things
there is no freaking way.
so many things you would have to think through that I
Oh.
know these people didn't think through.
There is no way.
So, but anyways, shout out to first responders in
Yeah,
Florida.
no
You can
kidding.
now arrive at the
Well,
scene
shout
of
out
the
to
crime.
first
armed and ready.
responders and
And by the way, YouTube channel, Ken Gober's Law and Disorder.
yes.
I would welcome somebody using that to watch us. Just
Yeah,
to,
the YouTube station is a lot better picture than the Facebook pages and everything. Much better. And it's
Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder.
just go to Facebook, Ken Goldberg's Facebook,
Experiment with it.
YouTube.
I don't know if it tells me if you're there unless you say something. I don't know
I don't know.
because nobody ever uses it. All right.
Some people use it.
Now on with the good news. Okay. New Texas law prohibits policemen from shutting down the lemonade stands of children. Apparently, there was an epidemic of police
Well,
officers
It
shutting
said
down.
one, I think, wasn't it? I don't know. Oh my God. It's now legal for kids to sell lemonade stands. Wait, it passed a law because police shut down a kid's lemonade stand. A kid's lemonade
Well, in
stand.
2015, in
Yes.
East Texas, a children's lemonade
East
stand was
Texas.
shut down.
Where's the Southern
Two-
hospitality?
Two sisters, Andrea and Zoe Green, had set up a traditional neighborhood stand to raise $100 so they could take their dad to
I
Splash
know
Kingdom.
that was cute. I thought.
Okay. Now, Abbott, who's an idiot, but that's irrelevant. If I have to say his name, I want to say he's an idiot.
Okay.
Called it a common sense law. And he is in a video apparently with a celebratory tall glass of lemonade saying cheers. So God bless Texas. But I want to say,
God bless Texas.
our governor's an idiot.
I'm doing the song now.
Oh, I don't know the song.
The eye Texas upon.
So now to more good news.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what's the point of all this? I just want to make clear, as I try to do frequently, because people have often thought that if they tuned into Law and Disorder, we would answer legal questions.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, no. No, it's just saying
I'm
things that
not-
other people probably wouldn't say.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what we do is we use legal issues to discuss greater social issues.
There you go.
Really.
Oh, that was a nice way to put that.
We use that as
Wow.
kind of the underpinning,
Yes,
and then
that's
from there,
good.
we kind of launch into social commentary, right? All right. So Amazon has been found liable for defective third-party products.
Yeah, this is weird.
So let me explain this. So somebody bought a dog leash, and the dog leash retracts. And in the course of retracting, at least that's what I think, in the course of retracting, it hit this person in the eye and damaged the eye. Well, the company itself is no longer in business. The manufacturer, I don't know if they were at the time of the injury, but they're not now. The person who was injured sued Amazon because they bought it on Amazon. Amazon got a court ruling at the district court saying that they were not liable because they were protected under the Communications Decency Act, which says that no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. So the idea being, listen, Amazon is just
Massive.
republishing the third party manufacturer's information. It went up to a higher court on appeal, and they said, oh, no, Amazon
Yeah.
is liable.
I
and
don't agree with that.
Here's why. Well,
Do you agree with that?
yeah, I think so.
Really?
Well,
Okay,
why
let me
don't
know
you
what-
agree?
I just don't agree with that. I mean, that Amazon service is to put the products out there for other people to sell. And
But
that has
Amazon's
nothing to
making
do with
money
it.
on it. If
Well,
they
they
weren't
are.
making money, that would be one thing. But they're
Okay.
making money on
I
this.
understand.
Now,
I
so this is
just-
going to be a double-edged sword.
Mm.
So some of you are going to be, yeah, Amazon should be held liable, and I'm not against that at all. They're saying in this case, Amazon didn't really do anything to establish the value,
Credibility of the product,
the
right?
safety and stuff of
Right,
the
right.
product. They just sort of let these people.
How are they
use
going to do
Amazon.
that for all those products on Amazon? There is
Well,
absolutely
they're
no
a
way
big
of doing that.
freaking corporation.
There
They
is
could
no
take
way
some of
they
the
can do
billions of
that.
dollars. Yeah, there is.
Are you
They
serious?
could have you submit safety reports or patents and stuff. They could look
Well,
at it.
I agree with what
They could-
Amazon says. This is really
they
going to
could
hurt the
test the
small
products.
seller.
So Amazon's argument is, well, we're going to be more reluctant now to use small sellers
Exactly.
because we don't want to get stuck with the liability. That's why I called it a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I think
Hey,
that
Mark.
sucks. So that once again, the little Joes are getting screwed.
But they're not getting screwed because somebody's trying to screw the little Joe. They're getting screwed. Maybe they got screwed in the first place when Amazon gangstered the whole
Well, that could be
consumer market
too. Okay.
on almost everything. And as a result, they've grown into a multi-billion dollar industry. Somebody's got to be held accountable.
I saw that
There's Rosie. Say hi, Rosie.
I saw that their earnings were stagnant.
Yeah, but they're also staggering,
Okay.
you know?
Yes, good point.
Some more good news before I get to some bad news. Okay. I have no affection for debt relief companies. Let me define debt relief. So I'm in trouble. I got creditors coming after me. My FICO score goes down to where nobody wants to give me any money if I need it. Can't buy a car because I need to get credit. I can't get an apartment sometimes. My credit sucks so bad. So these companies that go around, and I would submit many of them, maybe all of them, really prey upon people
They do.
who are in this situation.
I agree.
So there's one in California, and they've got a big office in Tempe, Arizona. Freedom Debt Relief.
I remember that. They advertise everywhere.
Apparently, yeah.
Mhm.
So they've just been ordered to pay $20 million in restitution to customers and a $5 million fine to the government over its marketing and
Mhm.
business practices. So one of the things they noted, and I thought was interesting, is there were certain companies that wouldn't even talk to them.
Right. And they were
So
advertising
they were
gonna
supposed
go,
to
so-
contact people that you owed money to and try to get you some debt relief. So they're supposed to call Citibank and go, our client owes $5,000.
Right.
Would you take $1,500 and then we'll set up a payment plan and they'll take care of this debt because it's important to them.
But in reality,
wanna
that
pay.
wasn't true, right?
Well, in some cases they were doing something,
Yeah.
but a lot of times they were
reality,
telling
like,
the
the
customer
customers to do it.
to call.
They were actually coaching the customers on how to fix their credit instead of them doing
And
it. was money
interestingly,
interpretation.
Chase Bank, American Express, Discover Card, and Macy's were among the companies that had refused to even negotiate lower debts with this company.
Right.
So if that was your debt, you shouldn't have even been accepted
Right.
as a customer.
But they're going to
of
take your
this
money
company.
anyway. Yeah.
Right. And they were taking people's money, making promises. They weren't refunding any portions. So sometimes,
Right. There was weird
sometimes
things.
people were due a portion of refund.
Yeah. They were due
Yeah.
a refund and they weren't even telling them when they were due a refund and they were just keeping the money.
Yeah.
And
but-
that was a regular practice for their
and
company.
how does a debt relief company become one of the top Arizona's largest employers?
That's a little scary.
So
Mhm.
I knew a guy that got into this and
Got
you
into
know,
it what? Like
he was
debt or
working
into the
for them.
company?
He was working
Oh,
for
okay.
them and he was touting it. I don't know what company. I didn't pay
Mhm.
attention. I thought it sounded a little to me, but so consumers were enrolled in the debt settlement program
Mhm.
and they were instructed usually by the company to change their billing addresses on credit accounts to one of their
That's really weird.
addresses. And they were charging 18 to 25% on debts that it settled.
Why would they
Um,
tell them to change their address?
so they could keep track of what's going
Wow,
on, and
that's
so they could say,
unbelievable.
"Look what we did for you."
Mhm.
The lawsuit it says that they failed to tell customers they could recoup unused funds
Right.
they deposit into settlement accounts. So they were putting money in to pay off these debts,
Correct.
and if it wasn't used, then
They were
the-
just keeping it. They weren't giving it back to the person.
yeah. So it sounds pretty sleazy,
No, beyond sleazy.
and so
Thank
when
God
this,
they lost.
this guy I knew was involved in that, and he was like, "Hey, I'm doing this. I'm helping people out. And you charge them money." So here's what you need to know about debt relief. Typically, in most states, you will find counselors who work for the government, for the county, for the state, for your city, who will guide you in this for free. I mean, it makes sense, okay? Because you don't have any money to pay your bills. Why should you be paying money to pay your bills?
18 to 25% on the debt or on the debt that's settled. See, I'm wondering how that works.
On the debt that's settled.
So if you have
On the debt that was settled.
so if you have a $10,000 debt and you settle it for 5,000,
Are they billing you on the 5 or the 10?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I never used them. Okay. Now, here's going to be a controversial one, perhaps. I don't know. So we've gone from really bad news to kind of good news. The debt relief people got banged. Amazon got banged. The lemonade stand
that was a good
oppressors
one.
got banged.
Yeah,
I'm saying
that was
that's-
good.
that's
It was
good news,
I
right?
don't think Amazon getting back with good news, but okay.
And she doesn't agree with me on the next one either.
Do you notice I circled the contradicted one?
Yes. I heard you muttering before the show 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah,
I
you
was
were like-
muttering.
You were like, okay, circling, contradicted. Yes, you said.
I just wanted to say there was something in there that agreed with what I was saying.
So, by the way, you can tune
I am
in.
understanding your point, though.
You can tune in to Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder on YouTube.
It's much better picture. Much better picture.
I just did this because she has a computer. You can't tell. You people, you can't tell, but she has a different computer, and that computer is broadcasting directly, whereas we're using
a much better camera. Yes.
we're using a camera. that's-
My Facebook doesn't have the best camera on it, but that's okay. We're
Okay?
beautiful people, so it's all right. Yeah.
So here's a study that just came out. Researchers at Montana State University.
Yes.
Okay.
This is interesting.
Looked at health surveys of U.S. high school pupils from 1993 to 2017. While overall use among U.S. youth went up of cannabis, the likelihood of teen use declined by nearly 10% in states where recreational use was legalized. I'm going to let that simmer for a moment. I'm going to repeat it, and I'm going to let it kind of sink in, everybody.
I agree with legalization of marijuana. I
know,
don't have an issue with that.
I'm going to extrapolate.
I understand what you're going
Okay,
with this.
so-
They might not, but I do.
So overall, okay, the likelihood of teen use declined by nearly 10% in states where recreational use was legalized. Now, that's only a few states, actually. AJ would like you to know, am I getting in your face? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm getting excited. This says that there was a Colorado study, doesn't say who, just says a 2018 study from Colorado. Don't know if it was a university or it was Joe Schmo sitting at his computer.
It was Harvard. They
Well,
don't have to say Harvard.
let's assume it was Harvard. let's say it was a very credible
Okay.
study. I'm willing to say that.
Okay.
Contradicted it because it found that the number of high school students who said they used cannabis stayed the same after recreational use was legalized. That doesn't matter for my purposes. My argument is that legalization does not mean addiction. That more access doesn't necessarily, that there is no proof yet as of today that access will increase addiction. Because that's AJ's concern about other drugs.
Heroin.
So we
meth.
agree on the legalization of cannabis. So that's why we're not arguing about that. But this study would seem to undercut the argument that most people have. Really, the only argument that most people have about decriminalization of drugs is that, oh, well, then everybody will start using them. Because understand this. Look, camera one. That's his name.
Camera one.
Yeah, John Stewart used to say, over here, camera one. So, camera one, listen. So the argument is, if they legalize heroin tomorrow, most of us would go out and start using heroin because we're too stupid to think to ourselves, maybe I don't want to do heroin. So am I suggesting that when people say that if you had access to heroin, we'd all start using it and abusing it and getting addicted? I say, I don't need to be treated like a child. They're letting you drink your alcohol. Let me have my heroin. Wait a second. That came out wrong.
A person in recovery from alcohol and drug addiction.
If I want my heroin,
there we go.
I should be entitled to it. As it is,
So he wants to legalize all drugs. Where
Yes.
you could go up to Target and get your heroin or your meth. I just don't
Target
know.
pharmacy, not self. Not
I understand, but
Not
that's where I get my
not
drug.
aisle
That's where I
12.
get my prescription.
Oh, okay.
I get my prescription. Why? You can go get spray. You know what's it? The paint spray, and
So-
people are getting high off that.
So this
Those
is
aren't even locked up anymore.
oh well.
There was
I
a
know-
girl the
I
other day
know-
running
I-
around Home Depot with spray paint all over her face. I had to go get the manager.
When I was a kid, I abused glue, and they stopped selling it to us. You had to have a parent.
Well, that's spray paint you're supposed to, but this chick was, I don't know, she was maybe 16, 17. She had spray paint all over her face running around Home Depot. It was quite a sight.
Well, that's a little freaky. Montana State
did call the
University
ambulance.
study. Dr. I think his name was Brian Anderson said this. It was usually harder for teens to buy from
This was
licensed
interesting, yeah.
dispensaries
Mhm.
where proof of age is required because in all states you have to be 18 to use marijuana legally. Okay. It was harder for them to buy marijuana because
When
the
it was legal.
dispensaries required ID, then from dealers.
Right. That's crazy.
So
So
if
if you
you
really
have-
ponder that,
so
that
if-
is crazy.
So think about it. If there was enough legalization to put out the criminal subculture, the black market,
But the black
imagine
market's
how
still
that-
there. You don't think so?
No,
for
I think the
underage
black
kids?
market diminishes.
Okay, well, I agree. It diminishes, but it's still there.
It may still be there, but isn't it important to downsize the black?
Yes, I agree.
Anything
I
we
agree
can
with you.
do
There. Okay, I
to
agree with you.
eliminate the black market. And
Well, it's
I-
also more expensive at the dispensary. Was part of the article.
well, yeah,
Yeah, the kids. So that
yeah,
was
so
deterring the
kids don't have
kids.
as much
They
money.
don't have as much money to buy it, and so that's part of the reasons why.
So
Mhm.
so I was talking yesterday to a group of friends, and I was pointing out to them that when the United States decided across the board to outlaw pseudoephedrine, unless what you need two things right now. You need to go in if you want to buy pseudoephedrine for your cold legitimately.
Right.
You have to go into a pharmacy and you have to produce a driver's license
Right.
or state ID, and you have to sign a registry.
Mhm.
And you can only have, I don't know, 1 pack or 2 pack. I don't know, whatever is limited. So the idea being, you can't go get a bundle of pseudoephedrine and take it
And make more
and
drugs.
use it to make methamphetamine.
Right. Exactly.
So because the cooks in the United States out there in Oklahoma, Kentucky, Arkansas, Alabama, that were
Mhm.
cooking all over, they wanted to put them out of business. And they did a very good job. But the obvious thing that should have been known is that the Mexican cartels would step in and start selling more meth. And so somebody said, well, you know, how is this possible, right? All right, imagine these billion-dollar cartels,
Mhm.
right? So you can, instead of buying pseudoephedrine, which is a tablet,
Right, right.
the guy's got to suck up whatever it is,
Right.
you know, break it down. There's a precursor. I don't know what the precursor is. Maybe I'll look it up. We'll talk about it. And the precursor is sold in these 50-gallon drums. It's sold to like auto paint stores and
Okay.
stuff like that. So they can buy it legitimately.
Wow.
Okay. So do you think that the Mexican cartel can't get their hands on 50
Well, I think they
gallon,
can do whatever the hell they want.
55
Personally.
Right. Oh, yeah. Let's pretend that the manufacturer says, I won't sell to you. What's his name? Well, El
Mr.
Chapo.
Cartel.
El Chapo. Okay. I'm not going to sell to you, Mr. El Chapo. Guzman, El Chapo, whatever. Okay. So here's an auto store.
Right. I'm coming to
Yeah,
get
I
you.
need a
Right.
couple of 50-gallon drums. I think you're going to order that, aren't you? Yeah. And then
I would
there's
just
this-
assume they'd have their own companies to do that with.
Well, so what I think is, again, going back to the abuse and use of methamphetamine, I would rather see people who feel compelled to use it to get something that at least is not adulterated.
I understand what you're saying.
And we're not feeding the Mexican cartels, and we don't have this issue at the border with people supposedly trying to smuggle. I mean, I lived in I lived in Arizona. I've talked about it. They're shooting bales of drugs over the
Over the
walls with cannons, and the mules are sitting there on the other side.
I just want to
waiting.
see it. I want to
waiting to
see the
pick it
drugs
up.
go over the wall. I want to
You know,
see.
I went to Sierra Vista, which is a form of, I think, Fort Huachuca. I don't know. There's a fort there, and it's nearer the border than Tucson is.
Mhm.
There's a lot of military activity, and they've got these old-fashioned surveillance balloons.
Oh yeah.
Up there. So Doug Stanhope, I always put about once a year. I put Doug Stanhope's video of his routine. I used to interview Doug from time to time. Funny guy, terrible lush, funny guy, and
So you two got along at one time. Terrible lush. I'm sorry.
well, no, actually, I think
Were you sober at that
I
point?
think I was clean by the time
Oh,
I
okay.
met him.
Okay.
I'm not positive. I'm not going to guarantee. Is meth the same as, let me see, I got a morphine. No,
Nope.
meth is the opposite. Morphine slows you down. Meth speeds you up. Meth is speed.
Speed.
All right. So to answer that question,
That was a good question.
I screwed with this.
Yeah, I tell him don't touch
All right.
the
I got
screen.
it. I got it.
Touches
All right,
anyway.
but now I can't see who that is. So we got one more little item. That's all.
It's
There we
Rosie.
go. Yeah. So back to the show. So Doug says, he says, listen, I lived in Bisbee, Arizona. That's real near the border.
Mhm.
And he says, you know, you look out your window and you could see Border Patrol. They pull over a Geo Metro, you know, and 12 Mexican guys get out. They're barefoot. Their pants are torn. They don't speak any English. And he says, if this guy is taking your job, you're a loser of such monumental proportion. You shouldn't come out of your house. And I'm like, that makes sense to me.
Okay.
And he says, this guy doesn't speak English. How were you trained in pantomime? You know, like, think about it. Right?
I'm following you.
Do you know anybody who lost their job to a illegal Mexican immigrant, like who took their job?
No.
Right. And I don't either.
Right.
And I know a lot of people, you know a lot of people. Yeah, they definitely ain't taking the yogi job.
No.
Right? Yeah, no.
Well, maybe down No Cliff or something.
I don't think so.
Just kidding, Oak Cliff. Love you.
So the Mexican cartels made out like bandits on the pseudoephedrine restrictions. Okay. All right. So I got a couple of issues I want to talk about. I want to say that normally we try to stay away from the real political hot potato that's going on in the country right now.
Trump? Oh.
Yes.
I like that political hot potato. Oh, wouldn't that be cool to have like a Mr. Potato Head Trump, Mr. Potato Head? That would be awesome.
So those of you who have watched this podcast in the past, you know that I felt for a variety of reasons. Primary reason being this: first off, I don't know that any good can come of talking about Trump. Number one, and number two, I have a number of friends who are Trump supporters, and I would like them to watch the show because I think we have so much to offer. I would like them to get the benefit of all this other stuff we talk about. You know,
I think we're good.
Right, but I got to say this.
Uh-oh.
Fuck Trump.
There goes. There we go. There it is, people. Let Ken speak from the heart.
I didn't mean to do that.
Yes, he did.
No,
he meant to do that.
I was going to talk.
You meant to do that. Don't even lie about it. Oh my God. Ken's true self is emerging. Oh my God. So what's upsetting you today about the situation with our president?
I was going to talk about the Cuban travel ban.
Okay. Yes. I'm a little upset because I haven't been to Cuba yet. So
that just,
I assume we can still go through Mexico that way though. Right.
Yeah. Why go through all that?
Just go to Mexico. Well, I know, but yeah, if you have to,
you can't have it on your passport.
Well, what happens if you do? You're going to be arrested that you went to Cuba?
You can get in trouble.
I don't. No, seriously.
You've defied the ban. It's a governmental ban.
So they're going to arrest you when you come back in the United States if you've been to Cuba?
I don't think they stamp you because they know the trouble you'd get into.
Gotcha.
All right. So let's not talk about the president. Racist pig motherfucker.
Stop it. You already flipped him off. I think we're good.
Okay. Let's just go on.
You are not being,
let's just go to the news.
You're allowed to voice your opinion, but that's going a little far.
Let's just go to the news.
It's a little far.
So the Cuban travel ban is going into effect. So historically, let's understand, after Castro conquered or whatever he did to Cuba, I don't really know. I wasn't around then.
Do you know my ex was the great-great-grandson of Machado, the Cuban dictator before them? Just letting you know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I have friends
Machado.
I've known people that escaped from Cuba during the revolution.
Yeah, that was his father.
Their families were.
Well, they were in.
Their families were capitalist, and Castro was.
They had to leave, or they were going to be killed. So they
because they were capitalists.
Yeah, well, they were running the country. They were the Machados.
Well, yeah, so
little Machados and Castros didn't exactly like each other.
They were really.
But it was a pain because sometimes when I traveled with Frank, he'd get pulled aside.
Yeah, well, they were taking a lot of graft. I mean, there was a pretty corrupt government.
Well, yeah,
made it easy to talk.
Well, Machado was a very bad dictator. He threw everybody to the sharks.
So under Obama, finally, after years and years of this ridiculous ban, because what has happened is Cuban refugees, capitalists with a lot of money who live in Florida, primarily around the Miami Beach area, been a very powerful lobby and prevented us from normalizing relationships with Cuba. You know, Russia and Cuba were getting along like this. John Kennedy ran the Russians out of Cuba. We had the Bay of Pigs fiasco where we tried to raid Cuba,
Well, where we almost got bombed.
and we have Guantanamo there. So we do have a relationship with them because Guantanamo.
Can we just give him back Guantanamo?
we lease?
Sorry, we don't
lease
want to
it,
be here anymore. We're leaving.
right. So we lease Guantanamo, and so we're living there.
How weird is that?
We're living there.
That's so weird.
Okay.
Excuse me, but we're going to lease a part of your land and just hold prisoners and make it one of the most controversial issues
So
in the
the
world.
Trump administration, this is back in June. Okay, it's not yesterday, but I'm not averse to talking about older news. They've gone back to banning travel to Cuba again.
And my question was why?
Yeah, and so the argument that they put out there was that it's a broader effort by the administration to roll back Obama era efforts to restore normal relations because, after all, they pose a danger to the United States.
It poses a danger.
So,
This is what it is.
AJ says.
Right here. Yeah, I just don't get it.
AJ says, what are these deceitful activities?
That's what it is, right? What
to
deceitful
counter the Cuban regime's deceitful activities
to undermine.
undermine U.S. policy. We don't have anything to do with Cuba. They've got old cars they don't have parts for. They've got excellent medical care because their doctors are renowned throughout the world as being some of the best trained doctors. And Cuba makes friends all over. They send doctor groups regularly to Africa, to places that are short on medical care or have experienced
Cuban
a
Doctors Without
disaster.
Borders.
Is that it?
I don't know.
Something like
Just made
that.
it up.
They're very well regarded,
Hmm?
and they will go and they will provide free medical services.
That's what my ex's father in Cuba.
Okay.
He was a doctor. He was a doctor then when he came here.
So, according to this article, there were 800,000 paid people waiting.
Cruise ship passengers.
Right.
Yeah. Going
Because
wanting
it's
to
90
go.
miles away. There's no point in flying.
Right.
You take a cruise. And so the cruise people that own the cruise companies are like, so what are we supposed to do? And there was talk of, well, if they had already paid, we're going to
They're going to give them a
go.
special license, and they
Yeah.
can still
So they've
apply
got to
for
apply
license.
for a license
Yeah.
to take the trip that they already sold.
Yeah.
So
And can you imagine the cost of those licenses?
I want to thank you, Mr. President, for everything you've done for this
No more
country
Cuban cigars.
to keep it safe.
Oh,
I can't tell you enough
it's been a long time since I've had a Cuban cigar.
how proud this heart beats for all that you are doing for us. All right, so this in Tennessee, I believe it was Tennessee. I don't know. No, it wasn't Tennessee. I don't know where it was. So Washington. It was Washington.
Oh,
So the police get a call.
I feel like this is the same thing, that this happens all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, just a second. I'm sorry. I read it and I was like, really?
Well, no,
Again?
this is a court case that's very important.
It is. Go ahead.
Okay. By the way, you can tune in. You can flip over to
YouTube.
YouTube.
Ken
Ken Goldberg's
Goldberg's.
Law and Disorder on YouTube.
Yep.
Rosie's there. The rest of you can join her over there. Okay.
Better
so,
picture.
So this case involved the YWCA, and this lady at the YWCA calls the police and says that somebody walked in, a woman, I guess, walked in and said, "There's a guy with a gun out there. There's a black man with a gun outside."
They didn't exactly say she was a white woman, but we know she probably was.
Yeah, she might have been, right? We don't know. So this person at the YWCA desk calls the police and says, so the dispatcher says, well, is he doing anything wrong? I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything.
Right. This lady just
This
told
lady
me.
just told me, and I don't really know much more. You know, what's he wearing? I don't really know.
We don't have any idea.
Yeah. Is he breaking any laws? No. Oh, and there's a women's shelter in this facility. So the police are called. They drive around. They see this guy, and
They see a guy.
They follow him.
Yeah.
Well, they see the guy in the case.
Well, yeah, okay, in the case. Thank you.
They're following him in a car, and then after 2 blocks or so, they turn on the lights, and he takes off running. And they chase him down. Eventually, they catch him, and they put him in custody. They search him. They find some drugs and a gun, and they arrest him. And so, really, on a motion to suppress, they don't they don't initially win. The district court says that they had a right to stop this guy because there was a tip, and tips can be a cause for a stop,
Mhm.
and he fled. And here's
Fleeting's
where,
bad. Fleeting's bad, right? That's bad.
well, in some circumstances.
Okay.
When,
get confused on that.
OJ took off,
I wasn't quite expecting you to pull OJ out of this. I'm sorry.
well, it was the most famous.
I know, but of all things, OJ. Yes, when OJ took off, it was bad.
Well, because it was in legal terms,
Yes.
flight is indicia of guilt.
Yes. That's
Okay?
why. That's how I feel about that's.
But in his case,
Yes.
there was other evidence, and they were trying to arrest him. Right.
Okay.
In this case, the court said, "Listen, this guy. It's not illegal to carry a gun in Washington if you have a concealed carry license.
But he didn't.
When you have an anonymous tip
Mhm.
under the law, the courts have ruled there has to be some indicia, some indication
Mhm.
of reliability
There you go.
to that tip. So here's what goes on in court all the time. Trust me, some people just don't realize I really am a lawyer and I've done a boatload of cases, right?
Criminal cases,
So
big ones.
yeah. So they come into court and they say, well, we had a reliable informant. And they have to tell the judge, first off, that they're getting a warrant. Like, so this house, let's say that somebody says Ken Goldberg or his address, they're dealing drugs out there.
Mhm.
Can't just go get a warrant. and
Right.
say,
Right.
You know, so they go to the court and they have to say, we have previously had this tipster give us other information which turned out to be reliable. This person has some indicia of reliability. Or AJ went to him and said, Ken's dealing drugs. They don't know whether they believe or not. So they put a car out on the corner and he's watching, and cars are pulling up all times of night, coming in for 5 minutes and leaving.
Right.
So they're doing something to confirm the information.
Mhm.
In this case, all they had to confirm the information was he ran. And they're saying, you know what?
Running's not a
This
cause.
is really good. Oh, so
So they're saying him running was the reason they went ahead and, but they didn't. They put the lights on prior to him running.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, and this is good because they're saying that his flight does not amount to reasonable suspicion. That's excellent. It's an excellent decision. So here, a couple of lines from the case, because they reversed the district court and said
It's
the
very.
motion to suppress the drugs and the gun is granted.
Mhm.
This evidence is not coming in because this is not a legal
Search.
stop and frisk. So, unlike a tip from a known informant whose reputation can be assessed and who can be held responsible if her allegations turn out to be fabricated, an anonymous tip alone seldom demonstrates the informant's
Interesting.
basis of knowledge or truthfulness. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
And they said in Washington state, it is presumptively lawful to carry a gun. So, in the absence of some other information that the person is carrying illegally, it would be legal to have the gun, right? And then
So
they went on to
confusing.
say,
So if the cop walks up to you on the street, knows you have a gun, and asks for your gun license, and you don't have one, that's not acceptable to arrest him? I'm just asking.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Okay, so if the cop walks up to you, you have a gun on you, and you do not have a gun license.
How does he know you have a gun?
I don't know, maybe it's sticking out of your pocket, maybe it's bulging. Maybe he can see it, popping out or something.
In the state of Texas, that would not be grounds. I don't believe that would be grounds to go any further because we can carry openly and we can carry concealed.
But they're
If-
not allowed to ask if you have your license.
You're not supposed to. If I'm not doing anything else,
Okay.
it's like pulling you over
Okay.
for no reason and ask you
Well,
if you
they
have a
do it all the
driver's
time.
license.
Okay.
No, they have to have a reason. That tail
You
light
didn't
was
put,
out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm sorry, you
Okay.
didn't put your turn signal on back
So
there.
the Supreme Court had this discussion. They said the 911 dispatcher got the call that the guy had a gun, and I talked about this. And I followed up trying to learn more about Was he displaying the gun? Was he somehow threatening anybody? And the lady just kept saying, I don't know. She just came in and said he had a gun. All right.
Well, the lady must have seen it if he had a gun. So he must have been displaying it at some point, but they don't have the person to say, right? They don't have the original person. How did she know he had a gun? She
Well,
obviously knew.
But let's say seeing the gun doesn't make it illegal.
Okay, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they also went on to say something really important. Nor is it true as an accepted axiom of criminal law that the wicked flee
Yeah.
when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion.
Okay,
Innocent
put that in
men
English.
sometimes hesitate to confront a jury, not necessarily because they fear that the jury will not protect them, but because they do not wish to be implicated and connected with a criminal act. And rather than be humiliated or whatnot, they may run. That there are reasons people run
Well,
besides
nowadays,
being
if you're a
guilty.
black man, there's a lot of reasons to run.
Well, that's the reason why this
But
case is
I
extraordinarily
understand.
important.
I understand.
You know,
I understand
a
that part of it.
recognition that just because you're being followed and you flee does not
I understand
inherently
that.
mean you're committing a crime.
I get that.
That's why this, like shooting people in a car because the car takes off and you thought maybe it was about the crime. They had that in Chicago. They went to trial. The two officers testified that they killed these guys because they had gotten a 911 call over the dispatch that the guys were driving a brown Buick, bing, 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 right? They pulled it over, something happened, they shoot these guys, right? Well, during the trial, it comes out that, well, there was other information. It wasn't a brown Buick. And they didn't give that information to the opposing counsel. They got themselves a new trial, and the city attorney, it was a civil case for wrongful death. City attorney and the judge said, we're going to do a new trial, and dear city of Chicago city council office, you're going to pay whatever expense these lawyers went through to put on this case, their expert witnesses,
Right.
their time, their attorney fees, and we're going to have a new trial. Yeah. So in the end, the totality of circumstances here does not add up to enough. No reliable tip, no reasonable inference of criminal behavior, no police initiative to investigate a particular crime in an identified high crime area. So they were saying in this case that if this was an area
that had higher crime,
had a high rate of crime, that
well,
you
what
know?
happened if the woman who came in and said, hey, there was a gun outside? What happened if she actually stayed there and police could talk to her? And she said, yes, I saw him. He had a gun. He was waving it around.
Well, that would satisfy part of this case, which says that if you don't know who the person is, you can't hold them accountable. If the person is there and they're lying, then you can turn them and go, why did you do this?
Right.
He was black. I thought he had a gun.
Okay.
So
but that would change the whole, it would change a lot of because then they did have a witness in that situation. So it might have changed.
Well, then it's not an anonymous tipster.
Correct.
But it's still an unknown tipster.
Yes.
That's why I say,
and all of us would
cops,
be. But
the
if
cops
she
come
was,
in all the time to court and say, I've got an informant.
Right.
But if they don't subsequently testify at that time that this informant has given them other reliable information, that information they're getting that first time, if that's all they've got is negative, man, you don't get your warrant.
Oh, wow.
Okay. The first time, the guy.
Well, how do you ever get one then if it's always going to be somebody's first time at some point?
Well, I told you have to put a cop outside to have him put the premises under surveillance or something. You have to have some other indicia that
I don't know. But how do you become an informant if you're never going to get the first time?
Well, you do. You say, this guy's dealing drugs. They confirm he's dealing drugs. They make an arrest. Now you have some indicia of reliability.
Okay.
You do it a second time. Bust. Now you're good.
Okay.
Okay. So, hey, Marty, hey, Ernie, hey, Mel, Jim, Aaron, Mark. I hope they're all still here. I wish they'd tell us when people leave, right?
I don't pay attention. I just talk.
So,
what are you doing looking at your phone?
It was buzzing. I didn't know why it was
Well, it's
buzzing.
on your crotch. Yeah, I mean, no. He puts a phone, so it buzzes right there. I mean, no wonder he's all excited.
Our last case tonight.
Last case.
is
Hold on. It's the last case. Mhm. That thing lasts forever, doesn't it?
so this focused on a situation in Liberty, Tennessee, but it can be extrapolated all over the country. They're talking about a guy who's been trying to
Oh.
get a valid driver's license for 20 years. So when he was in high school, he got fined for truancy. And he was told he could not legally drive until he turned 21.
I thought the parents had to pay the truancy fee.
Well, in this case, what he did was it wasn't the fine. They said he couldn't drive till he was 21, but he drove.
Oh, and then
He
got
drove
fined.
and got 2 tickets,
Okay.
and the fines
This
accumulated.
guy sucks.
Huh?
This guy sucks. He got 2 tickets to driving when he wasn't supposed. Okay, I'm sorry. Would you have
No.
driven really, really slow and really paid attention and not got caught?
So,
I would have.
yeah. Well, I represented these guys, and there's a variety of reasons. You know, you're driving.
I
Whatever.
understand.
You know,
I'm just kidding.
I was in Naperville, Illinois, for a couple of years, doing cases. Those of you from Chicago know Naperville. And this kid got his license suspended. It wasn't a DUI. I don't remember. He hired me, and we went to court, and he got probation. And you can't drive till you get a license. You can't get a license; it's suspended. There's obstacles. That's why I didn't have license. So, and I told AJ about this one. Anyways, he drives again. He gets caught. 30 days in jail, 60 days in jail, 90 days in jail. And I'm like, dude, he's like, I'm driving, man. I got to drive. His mother, who was hiring me each time, poor woman, she then hires me to represent her second son, who gets pulled over. He's eating a burrito, and it trips, and he gets pulled over, DUI, loses license.
Oh my God.
And the father never had a license because of some DUI. So his poor mother was chauffeuring around
Oh my
every
God.
male member of the family. Anyways, so he had $1,000 in fines and fees, which he was never able to get caught up on, because whatever plan he got into, he just never could pay it.
He didn't do it.
So 20 years later, he's still trying to get a license. So this whole article was really about how some jurisdictions are just trying not, first off, let's not even jail. They talked to one prosecutor, let's not even jail somebody if their only punishment is they owe money.
Right.
Let's just stop doing that, because
They lose their job, they lose their family, apartment, car. Right.
Yeah.
Then they're worse off than before, and there's absolutely nothing they can do.
And then how do you adjudicate? Maybe somebody is at, because of their economic level, there should be, community service should be the way out, or whatever it is. And so it turns out that a lot of this money that's been coming in finances other operations. So the judges are like, listen, we'd like to do that. We're going to do that. And one legislature in North Carolina said, if you waive the fine, you have to contact every possible state agency that receives funds from the court and explain yourself.
Wasn't that 250 million or something?
Said,
yeah.
That would be 100 agencies.
250 million
in
in 2018 in North Carolina alone.
So they don't want to let go of the 250 million. So they're just really making it impossible for a judge to actually waive the fine. The judge is like, oh, we're fine with it. We can do this. We can evaluate and waive fines where it's
community
helpful.
Service, whatever it is, right? Well, the other thing that bothered me was that
legislators are unwilling, and so in Oklahoma, they refer these debts to a for-profit company called Aberdeen Enterprises II, which adds an additional 30%.
I thought that was illegal. I didn't know they were allowed to do that. How can they add a 30%
they couldn't
fee?
Unless the legislature allows it. Typically, that's prohibited. And they're allowed to threaten the people that owe the money with arrest. And that's not usually allowed. A civil company, a non-governmental entity, is usually prohibited from making that threat. In a lot of jurisdictions, the states would not allow them to do that. So people are regularly thrown in jail for things like not paying their probation, monthly probation. when I started out in the business, well, I guess you could say I started out in business when I was 17 and I was placed on probation. I'm just saying, right?
I've been on probation too.
Yeah. So there were no probation fees when I was a kid. You went down.
Really?
Yeah.
I had to pay probation fees.
Well, you're much younger than I am. You would go down. You had your appointment. You saw the guy, and then after he got comfortable with you, he gave you a couple.
Right.
He gave you slips of paper, and you filled them out and you mailed them to him
Yeah.
every month. And then when the year was over, they discharged you, and then they started putting in these probation fees, and those fees keep going up. And they're doing things. They're charging inmates in jails to have contact with their families now. They don't want to have visiting day because it's too much trouble. So they
Right.
hire these private companies to put in these video
Right.
things,
Like
and
Skype
then
or
and
something.
then you got to
yeah.
pay $2.50 a minute or something crazy like that. You got to put money on deposit.
Well, the other thing that was happening in probation many years ago when I was on probation was they'd make your appointment at 10 a.m. in the morning, and you were still sitting there 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So no, it didn't matter to me because my job wasn't dependent. It was okay. But all those other people, so many of those other people going in there lost their jobs because they had to sit there for the probation officer. Because if they left, then they'd get arrested.
Of course.
It was crazy. I just don't understand I don't understand that.
Well, as
Just
much
sitting
as,
there, you make an appointment. It's not a doctor. He wasn't called away to surgery. It's a friggin' probation officer. Really bothered me. Just saying.
I'm bothered with her. I'm sitting at the courthouse now. I think I was a lawyer at this point, and the judges decided, or somebody decided, that people couldn't come in the courthouse anymore in shorts or sleeveless with tank tops.
Oh, so straight from work or something?
No, just people that are not that attuned to.
I understand, but that could also be people coming from work, construction, that kind of thing too. I mean, you're not dressed appropriately at that point.
Well, we're talking 8 in the morning. I don't know how many people.
Okay, that's true.
Work.
That's
So
true.
they show up, and the sheriff refuses to let them in the courthouse for their court case.
You're kidding me.
No, they tell them you can't come in. You're not dressed. Meantime, upstairs in the courtroom, the case is called. AJ Crowell.
That's awful.
You don't answer a year.
Oh
So
my
the prosecutor
God.
says, she's out on bond. She didn't show up today. I'm going to ask the bond be revoked and a warrant be issued.
Oh, that's awful.
And then they will do that.
That is
And
awful.
if the person shows up 4 hours late, if the judge is there, they may get to come back and quash the warrant, or they may not. It depends.
Wow. That's horrific.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, I get, the judge is in a position to go, ma'am, please, next time you come, do not wear these shorts and this tank top. This is your first and last warning. Let the file reflect that I admonished the defendant. And then let the judge deal with it. Why should the sheriff have that kind of, Hi, Shirley.
That's bad.
You can ask questions, kids. All you have to do is type it in.
Gee, I'm glad you told
The
them
end of the
that.
show.
I'm glad you told them that.
Well, Rosie did. She asked a question.
She did. She asked a drug question.
Yeah.
You can tell she wasn't a recovering
But
addict.
nobody
Proud
tuned
of you.
into Ken Gober's Law and
No,
Disorder on
No,
Facebook.
they're watching us
They're
all
either
over.
on my thing.
They're watching us all over in all different places. I know, it's really
your
cool.
thing. Yeah, you always get a lot of people.
Sometimes.
You would think that after all these years of doing radio and stuff, that I would have made some friends. I don't mean friends. I mean, I got friends.
But
Anybody.
Facebook came out
almost-
after, really. That wasn't a big thing when you had your radio show.
Right. But I'm just saying, a lot of people know me. I'm not despised everywhere I go.
Are you sure about that? You just flipped off Trump. You just flipped off half the population.
I did not stop.
Well,
didn't
excuse
happen.
me, 36% of the population based on the last polls. That was his rating, wasn't it?
What do you think redeem means with a question?
I don't know.
That's not. When I say ask a question, you could type a question. I didn't say type a
Question mark.
All right? Let's try to pay attention, kids.
I don't know. I love her. That's awesome type
Don't
of question.
encourage this kind of behavior. So listen, I'm going to wrap up the show
That
now
was
because
good. Yeah.
I'm going to a pool party.
Yes, I'm going to.
She's going to be my plus one.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were invited to go to a friend's house. It starts at 6:30, so we're going to be a little late, but we do this thing. So we're going to go to a pool party. It's the weather. I mean, it's hot. It's sticky.
It is. It's pretty
So
gross here
it's
in Texas.
probably a good time to slip
What
into
was it?
a
Well, it's
pool and
supposed to
get
go
wet.
into the hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it'll
Now
be-
the heat
well,
index was up to 108 one day.
Yeah. Well, the
But-
heat index, it's only supposed to be 98 all week.
I know,
But
but
the
that's
heat
not
index
the
will
heat
push it up.
index.
I was riding my bike the last couple of days, and today I did not ride my bike. I'm going to tell you why. I'm sick and tired of being burning.
There's no way I'd ride
It
a
just-
First of all, I'm not going to ride a
it
bike
just
unless it's a
burns.
motorcycle on the street. And second of all, I'm not going to ride in this heat. There is absolutely no friggin' way.
Thank you for reminding me. I went to see Stuber yesterday.
Oh, you did? I can't wait to see it. Was it good?
Yeah. No, it wasn't that good, but it was
Oh.
cute.
Okay.
I don't pay the maximum dollars.
Okay.
Don't
All right.
go at
all
night
right.
and see it in IMAX if they offer it. I mean,
Okay.
Stuber's got that guy. What's his name? Big.
Yeah.
He
He's in another
plays-
movie too.
Well, yeah, he's got another movie coming
Yeah.
out, but he was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was the green guy, the big green guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, John Batista or
Yeah, well-
something. So he really did. He really did a good job in Guardians
Uh-huh.
of the Galaxy, and he does an okay job in this. The script sucks. The guy that plays the Uber driver,
Yeah, he looked
and,
funny.
and him. They
have a good chemistry.
I thought it was cute,
Yeah.
but some of the lines were just lame,
Oh.
lame, you know. So, but I bicycled to North Park.
Did you bicycle with them?
No, they
Oh.
were on the screen. So I bicycled to North Park Mall. That's 8 miles. And I go in to see the movie, but the movie ends at 4:30, which is the hottest time of the day
Yes,
in Dallas.
Correct.
So that sucked coming home.
Yes.
In the heat.
In the car.
And what car?
Oh, you were on your
I
bike.
just said I biked. What show are you on? Could you just listen? Can I just have you for 1 hour a week where you're in the
I'm
same?
right. I was on your bike. Yeah, why would you plan that? Seriously, that is ridiculous. That is only a penis person would do this. Only a guy would do this. I'm gonna go to the movie and then I'm gonna have to ride home when it's the hottest part of the day in Dallas. Only a guy would do that. Seriously.
I don't know if that's true.
It is true. Women would plan ahead and not come out and oh my God, hottest part of the day. And then he calls me, I'm really hot. Well, no shit, you're hot. You were riding in the hottest part
You
of
know
the
how
day.
many times? You know how many showers I took yesterday? 3.
Oh my God, well, at least we know you're
I
clean.
took one first thing because I couldn't remember if I took one when I got home the day before. I couldn't remember.
But
And
you
then-
should just go by how
and
you're
then I-
feeling and how your body's feeling, not
Yeah,
whether or not
and-
you
and
took
I
one.
went to- yeah, well, my body was feeling kind of funky. So I came back and I took a shower and then I took a bath later on, which
Okay.
I normally don't do in the summertime
I know, neither
because
do
a
I.
hot bath in the summer doesn't
I
seem
can't
to
do it. Yeah.
But you know what? My body just said, just
But
chill.
I've hurt
just-
my back and I really want to take a hot bath, but I can't. There's just no way. I don't want
What's
to get
true,
in it.
Ray Dean? What is what are these
Ray Dean. It's true.
what are these cryptic messages?
That's going to me about the penis people not planning ahead and riding out. First of all, 4:30 in Dallas is also rush hour. It's not just the hottest time of the day; it's rush hour.
Oh, yeah.
So not only is he
I
going to
mean,
get killed by
meep,
another
meep,
car,
meep.
he's going to die of a heat stroke right there on the street. That's the end of it. What color roses do you want at your funeral? Are you answering your phone in the middle
the
of
pool
this?
party's asking if I'm coming.
Well, you're going to have to wait till we are done. That is the rule.
All right, so let's wrap it up. I'm going to be teaching meditation Wednesday night.
Yes,
That's tomorrow night.
tomorrow
8484 Stoltz Road in Dallas, Texas.
at the Buddhist Meditation
Buddhist-
Center. It's
no, Buddhist
awesome.
Center of Dallas.
Okay, I said it wrong.
You can
But-
check out my Facebook group called Buddhist Center of Dallas Meditation Group. But more importantly, check out our show. You people that are listening to this now, you're listening live, but you have friends. Ask them to go to YouTube to Ken Goldberg's Law and Disorder. Listen to AJ, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to stimulate some real thinking You know?
Like when you go to the movies and you come out and it's super hot and you're gonna have a
Okay,
heat
that's
stroke
not the
and then
smartest thing,
okay.
but let's just use an example. The issue of the cannabis legalization.
Yes.
We've had some very
We have.
insightful conversations.
That's right.
Where we have tossed about the pros and cons in a very intelligent way. I got news for you. I've been party to some really stupid conversations, even once I'm sober. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about when I was under the influence of drugs or alcohol. I'm talking about since I've been sober, 11 and a half years. I've sat in some rooms and gone, really, seriously? Okay, so I'm just saying.
Okay.
We have been able to take issues of the moment and we've been able to thrash them out and be able to get people to think about both sides.
Right.
You know, part of the problem that's missing right now in this country is
flipping off Trump wasn't a good idea. That wasn't exactly showing both sides. I guess you get the other side thinking about it.
Listen, we've been on the air about 5 months and I've never done anything like that.
I know. First time for everything.
So I had a little bit of a
moment.
moment.
He had a moment. It's okay.
You
happens.
can hire me to draw up your will.
No more divorces.
No more divorces.
No more divorces. He's not going to do any more
I
divorces. He
can't
can't
tell
handle
you.
it.
I can't tell you. How painful,
I know.
You know.
His
Murder.
children may become fatherless if he has to do another divorce
Murder
case.
I'll do a murder case if I would do a divorce.
There you go.
You know. I have more to tell you, but I'm not. The show's over. It's time to go.
All right, we're going to a pool party.
Tell them where to find you.
Okay, I'm at DallasYogaMagazine.com, so come on and check that out. And the Cosmic Yogi Festival, Cosmic Yogi Movement on Facebook, is also having their big festival November 2nd. So we're really excited about that. We're having music this time, so we're excited. Ooh. So, all right, so check us out, Dallas Yoga Magazine. CosmicYogiFestival.com.
If you're local, 5 p.m. on Sunday, I'm going to be at that drum circle at
which one?
Sun Yoga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. See you at Sun Yoga.
Peace out.
Bye.
See you on the other side.
Do you know that was what my sponsor used when she passed? We're all sitting in the audience, and she used Ozzy Osbourne's "See You Down the Other Side" as the last song at her funeral.
I don't know how to turn this off, so watch what you say.
That was funny, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.